Hey y'all, it's Kobe R. Rice and Happy New Year! Yay! Um, so it's been a really amazing, crazy ride for 2017. And yeah, if you guys are interested in hearing a very long, very detailed, perhaps slightly overshare podcast or video series on what I've done this entire past year, definitely go and check out my creative roundup for 2017. Basically, what I did was that I divided all of my successes, failures, and milestones into 18 different areas for 2017. And I recorded a video for each one of those areas. And I also put some summary points in each section. So I did that. And then I ripped the audio from all the videos and then basically edited them into one single 7-hour podcast. And that was not supposed to be that long, but as you're recording each section, insights come to you, reflections come to you, etc., etc. So that will be our final look into 2017 before we jump into 2018. So if you want to listen to all of that, or at least peruse certain sections and find out what was going on with me in 2017, definitely check that out. I'm actually really proud of the things that I did last year. And so it's a really great sort of way to end the year. But now that we are officially in 2018, I want to not only wish you guys a very amazing Happy New Year, and also ask you guys to congratulate yourselves for getting this far. But I wanted to talk about my creative goals for 2018 as well. For some people, the end of the year and the beginning of the new year is not the greatest year for them. But for me, it's definitely my favorite time of the year because, again, it allows me to reflect and then to pivot and change and do some really new, awesome things. And I just love blank slates. The only things that I don't particularly like blank are like the first pages of my manuscript because the first page blank page horror always sets in with us writers when it comes to getting words on a page. But that's really the only blank slate that I really try to run away from. Everything else I'm super amped about. And so for this particular podcast, I'm going to talk to you guys about all the goals that I've set up for myself for 2018, again, divided into those 18 areas. But this podcast will be significantly shorter because I actually, even though my goals are sort of really big this year, I do try my best every year to whittle them down into goals that are manageable. And a lot of the things that I'm doing for 2018 as a creative entrepreneur, writer, filmmaker, and up-and-coming game designer are sort of geared towards developing all of those skills and all these projects on, shall we say, like a shadow basis and on a background basis. So there's going to be a lot of shadow development and a lot of shadow writing and shadow growth this year for me and for my businesses. But then for other businesses like New Adult Noir, Rebel Ragdoll Press, and maybe Rebel Ragdoll Productions will see more obvious manifestations. So let's just jump right into it. And that's it. There's actually no announcement for New Adult Noir for this month because for the first month of January in any year, I usually take that time to pivot, reflect, and plan, and also just like get things set up and in order. So I'm doing the same thing for New Adult Noir. So you guys won't really hear any updates about that particular blog or brand until about mid-month when I sort of know exactly where I want to step first. All right, so let me pull up my notes here, and I'm just gonna go section by section and talk about what I have planned for 2018. And just FYI, let me just take one step back from that for just a second and just let you guys know that also at the beginning of each year, I decide what kind of year it's going to be. So kind of like with, Chinese New Year, how they have the year of the dragon, the year of the rat, the year of the rooster. Me, Kobe R. Rice, with my brand and with what I want to do, I decide what kind or what brand of year it's going to be. So for 2018, this is going to be the year of the director, the year of the screenwriter, and the year of shadow development. Those are the three things I'm trying to do this year. let's see, running through my preamble, blah, blah, blah. So let's talk about marketing and social media first. I'm going to zoom through all of these sections because, again, I don't want this to be as long as my 2017 update. Marketing and social media. So I'm going to try my best to optimize my current properties that I have. Currently, just the given, the taken, the books of Ezekiel. I want to update all of my book back matter, and I also want to turn all my current properties into paperbacks, because I have a paperback version for the omnibus version of the first arc of the books of Ezekiel series, but I don't have paperbacks for the individual books, the given and the taken. So that's going to be one major thing I'm doing at the beginning of the year, just to get myself positioned to flesh out all of my intellectual properties and all of their different manifestations. Another thing that I want to do is to submit my free book magnet, which is the given, to all free book sites. Not anything major, but again, this is just another way to generate a sort of passive set and forget reader pipeline so that they can continue to come into my list, read my book, understand who I am, decide if they want to stay, and then hopefully become super fans. I also am going to be building out the websites and blogs for all my current businesses and brands. So that includes Colby R. Rice. I'm going to keep building up that website, of course, and keep pimping it up. Rebel Ragdoll Press, Rebel Ragdoll Productions, New Adult Noir, The Bohemian Badass, which has just gotten an incredible, very sexy facelift. So definitely go check that out in your free time at thebohemianbadass.com. Building up the Blackheart Boulange, the Blackheart Bakery, the Blackheart Boudoir, etc. So just working on those websites, working on those brands over the course of the year so that I can just build up their online presence, and also position specifically the Blackheart Boulange brand to launch in this October 2018. And along with that, I'm going to be also building out the social media outlets for all of those businesses. So, that takes a while to get the Twitter up and running, the Facebook, the Instagram, the LinkedIn page, the Google Plus page for each of those business brands. It takes time. So just little by little, on the days that I'm just either burnt out or I don't feel like writing or whatever, I'm going to work on those as well. I also want to work on starting to share more content and keeping those social media accounts active and engaged. And so I'm going to do that by recruiting my virtual assistants on board. That's the major move for Rebel Ragdoll as a whole, is to recruit a few VAs and just have them consistently going in, every day or every couple of days to share content from like-minded businesses and brands. So Rebel Ragdoll Press obviously will be sharing more content on social media, dealing with the current independent publishing industry, and just sharing really cool stuff from other authors, etc., etc. So we're working on that. Basically working on for marketing, establishing a very solid, consistent social media presence for each of my businesses. Even if we are not producing content on a weekly basis or whatever, I still want to be sharing other people's stuff and building up our profile on a day-to-day basis by sharing other people's and other businesses' content. I'll also be working on successfully executing the 100 book review book launch for Hollow Point this year, and I'm also going to try to get up the reviews for the Given and the Taken, and we'll talk more about Hollow Point when it comes to the writing section and the shadow writing section of this update. But for marketing, I do want to basically hone my skills in launching a brand new novel with a set number of reviews. I'll also be working on and finishing a lot of different marketing funnels across all of my businesses. And funnels, as you guys know, are really important because it establishes your reader base or your customer base or, your subscriber base in a really solid manner by offering what we call an ethical bribe. So you're giving away something for free, like a checklist, if people are trying to figure out how to do something, or a free novel if you're trying to attract readers. And by giving away that free lead magnet, you're getting interested parties into your list. And from there, it's up to you to keep that list warm and to develop a relationship between yourself and your readers or subscribers or customers. So I'm working on actually finishing out those funnels and perfecting them so that we can bring people into our list, but also keep them interested with engaging, awesome content. And then at the end of it, that's when you make the sale, or you start to say, hey, you have all this wonderful stuff for free, but here are some other products or some other novels that we have on offer. That are not free but are still amazing and still things that you want to check out, and we even have a discount, etc. But the final thing in the marketing section is really looking at 3 major marketing pushes, which are pretty much tentatively scheduled for now. They may or may not actually be executed next year, because it depends on the other people I'm collaborating with. But the first one is that I am a part of a 4-author novel collaboration, very much in the vein of what a lot of authors are doing right now, in terms of coming together and each one writing a particular character storyline in a shared world. So I'm really excited about that. I have some ideas based on what's already been pitched to my author group, and I really hope to become a part of this ongoing series where we're developing maybe an entire series in this shared world with these characters. So that's really exciting for me. It's my first co-written author collaboration, and I'm super amped. So that's one major marketing push for this year. Another collaborator and I, actually he approached me, and will be approaching other authors, but one of my former collaborators and I are considering strongly doing a USA Today run with a 24 author box set. So I was invited to be a part of that box set, and we are super excited to get that up and running. He's more connected in the sci-fi realm with authors, and I'm way more connected in like the fantasy realm, all different kinds of fantasy. So we really complement each other in terms of who we can recruit into the box set, and it's just going to be awesome. There's also another marketing push, number 3, which is going to be a digital summit over the summer, wherein I'm partnering with yet another amazing collaborator of mine, who is an African woman who is trying to build an African media empire, just like I'm trying to build my Black media empire over here. And so she's amazing, and she's looking to put together a few summits this year, and we're in talks right now with me coming on to help her co-host, or basically co-create the summer summit, which is going to focus on digital stuff, marketing, digital products, digital everything. So I'm super excited to be a part of that. Those are our major marketing pushes for 2018. Now let's get into community building with both readers and with authors in 2018. And my goals for this section are actually really short, because to me, the community building is just really straightforward. For readers, first of all, like one of the main pushes I'm going to do in January is to find out more specifically who my readers are, like what their demographics are, age, sex, race, where they live, what they're interested in reading, what they like about my books, if they've even read my books. And I want to ask them and find out what they want from their experience on my list. And so that's really important to me, to start really understanding my readers and developing a stronger relationship. And this year, with regard to readers, I will still be hosting giveaways at New Adult Noir. I will still be recruiting new readers into the blog, into the giveaways, and onto my list. But the main goal is to try to develop an even closer, much more intimate relationship with my reader base, and to also develop and cultivate a super fandom. And as a part of that, I will be offering many more smaller, like list specific giveaways that are only available to people on my list, and are offering things that they are really excited to get as readers, and specifically that they're excited to get as readers of my work. So that's a super exciting endeavor, and I'm looking forward to developing those tighter relationships with my readers. And just as a third point of doing that, I'm also going to be developing and cultivating my online fan group, essentially, but it's going to go through Facebook. And the fan group is called Offworld. The entire sort of world in which I'm building all of my novel series is called Offworld. So anyone who opts into my list or is reading any of my books is immediately dubbed an Offworlder. So I'm going to focus on developing the Offworld fan group on Facebook, and really catering to my off-world crew. In addition to that, I also will be developing an off-worlder like elite class. I don't know what it's called right now. Probably the off-world overlords, who are like the ultimate super fans of my work, and who will become a part of my ARC team and my street team, essentially, because they are the ones who are showing up for all my stuff, leaving reviews. They're going to get all the free books for life, and they're also going to get extra special giveaways that are not available to anybody else, not public and not even the other off-worlders, but just available to the off-world overlords, who are really, really going hardcore for my stuff. So actually, I'm going to add that right there, the off-world overlord group. I'm going to add that into my little thing here. With regard to community building for with authors, as you guys heard in the last section, I'm already forming different marketing endeavors and different partnerships with other authors, and I will continue to do so, not only through those major marketing pushes I mentioned, but also through New Adult Noir, through newsletter swaps that actually make sense. No massive sort of, hey, I'm going to be on 10 newsletters this month. I want to be very selective as to which newsletters I'm going to swap with, and which authors I will be swapping with, rather. And I really do want to continue to forge really amazing relationships with authors in the community, but also do that through the New Adult Noir blog and the author promotion services, and as well through our Facebook group, and building a community specifically with dark and gritty authors who write in the sci-fi, fantasy, and horror genres. So, that will sort of come naturally, I think, the more ways I participate in author collaborations, the tighter my relationships will be, most likely. I also have some goals for research, world building, and shadow development for 2018. And basically, I'm just going to be working behind the scenes on a bunch of story Bibles for a bunch of my different novels and series. And the reason why, again, I am shadow developing a lot of my stuff this year is because I had realized this past year that every single time I try to hit a deadline for a book release, I'm not really able to make that deadline because I'm just so swamped, and I'm kind of behind the curve in terms of where I'm supposed to be in my word count, in the character development, etc. of the work that I'm trying to release. And so the better model for me going forward is to just have a bunch of completed manuscripts. Completely completed, like from outline to plot to character to the first draft to the final draft, to like the polished, ready to release draft, and just have those ready ahead of time, have those developed beforehand and behind the scenes. And then when they are finally ready for release, I release each novel in that series in rapid succession. So I will be doing that pretty much for all the other series that I have going on, with the exception of the books of Ezekiel, because they are already out there, and I do need to release those books as I'm finished writing them. Otherwise, I'm going to lose my readership because people will lose interest. But going forward, because I have so many other series and trilogies and franchises that I want to build, and because I want to build a strong, rabid reader base around those franchises, I really wanted to take a step back, develop everything, write everything, and polish everything prior to even releasing anything. And then when I'm ready to release, the books will be coming out, for example, on like a monthly basis, or I will be releasing 6 books a year or something like that. So that's what I'm actually working on with regard to research, world building, and shadow development. And so these are the series that I will be shadow developing in 2018. The Asylum Trilogy, which I hope to release in rapid succession between the end of 2018 this year and the beginning of 2019, but we'll see. So the Asylum Trilogy, Story Bible, and World I'm working on, as well as the series, the Right Hand series, the entire world of Never After. And the world of Never After actually includes or comprises 3 particular series: the Hitman of Happily Ever After series, the For Never Files series, and the Godsman series. Each of those series is set in the same world. So this year is going to be focused on developing the world, the characters, revamping all 5 boroughs and the surrounding suburbs of New York City into an entirely different urban fantasy world. All those things I'm going to be working on this year, as well as working on the manuscripts. I'm going to work hardcore on the story Bible for the Books of Ezekiel series. A lot of it is actually very well established, and I'm really proud of the world that I've created for the Books of Ezekiel, but it's such a huge world. I need to always be developing it and always be working on it. So I'm going to be doing that this year. I'm also going to work on the story Bible and the world for the Forgotten trilogy, the Sentient trilogy, and I will also be working on if you guys listened to any of my podcasts last year, you guys will know that I decided at some point in the future that I wanted to do a 6-film crime noir and urban fantasy adaptation of Shakespeare's Roman history tetralogy, which include Coriolanus, Julius Caesar, Antony and Cleopatra, and Titus Andronicus. So based on his 4 Roman plays, I wanted to develop a 6-film series that's sort of like Sin City meets Shakespeare, essentially. And the reason why it will be 6 films as opposed to 4 films is that I feel as though there is a prequel and a conclusion in that Roman history tetralogy that is alluded to, but he never wrote. So I will be writing, and very much in sort of like a Shakespearean format, if I can meet that level, that those bookend films for the Roman history tetralogy adaptation. So I'll be working on the story Bible and the dramaturgical protocol for that entire series as well. Again, this is all in shadow development, so there are no major deadlines here with regard to what I need to have done by the end of the year. These are just things that I'm working on. And then I will also be researching and working on the story Bible for the Immortal TV series that I want to independently write, shoot, and film, and then release at Rebel Ragdoll Productions. So that is my shadow development for 2018. With regard to shadow writing and plus my actual writing and publishing goals, the one thing that I want to do this year is try my best to hit my 1,000 words per day writing goal for my writing regimen. And this is again about just getting my butt in the chair and getting into the practice of doing this writing literally the first thing every single morning, and then having the rest of the day to do everything else. But I do want to hit at least 1,000 words per day with my writing regimen. And also I want to keep track of my writing progress in my new writing regimen worksheet that I created for 2018. That was based on a course that I took last year. So wish me luck with that. That is definitely a goal. That's not a shadow writing goal. I guess it's a part of my shadow writing goals, but just something I want to develop offhand, just off the bat. I want to just have that regimen deeply ingrained in me and just on and popping by the end of Q1 of 2018. As for which manuscripts I will be shadow writing this year, like shadow writing with the goal of then releasing these books in rapid succession in 2019, 2020, and 2021. The shadow writing goals for this year are for me to shadow write the manuscripts of the Asylum trilogy, the manuscripts of the Hitman of Happily Ever After series, shadow writing, of course, the Books of Ezekiel series, also shadow writing the manuscripts of the Fornever Files and the Godsman series, because those are the next series that are on my slate to release from Rebel Ragdoll Press. And again, I just want as many of those books written and done and available for release as possible so I can release these books in rapid succession, not let down my readers, stay on top of my goals, stay on top of, giving them what they deserve and what they've been waiting for. And also it's a great way to help to build up a better reputation and a reader base as an author who is known to actually finish her work, make good on her promises, and write really good books, but also release those books in rapid succession. So those are my shadow writing goals. It doesn't mean that I am publishing any of those books this year, but I will be publishing again in rapid succession those books in the years to come. Now, my actual publishing goals for 2018 include the polishing and publishing of Hollow Point, which is book 3 in the Books of Ezekiel series, the polishing and publishing of Loosey Goosey, which is the prequel novella of the Hitmen of Happily Ever After series, and then finally the polishing and publishing of Peplum, which is the prequel story and prequel novella of the Asylum trilogy. So really, in terms of what I want to actually get out this year with regard to actual published product, I only have 3 projects scheduled for publishing this year. I wanted to do that so that I could complete these projects with the quality and the attention they deserve, and I didn't want to overload myself and set my standards or my goals too high for how many books I needed to publish this year. So that's just 3 books. That's all I'm trying to do this year, while I'm also shadow developing and shadow writing everything else. Okay, so let's get into my Rebel Ragdoll goals, because now we're getting into less of, for example, what I'll be doing marketing wise or relationship wise, and we're getting into business right now. And actually, just to give you sort of a prophecy of what's coming, I'm going to talk about each of my businesses and those goals for 2018, and then I'm going to wrap up the podcast with an eye towards where I want to develop in my professional creative skills and also in my skills that I'm getting for graduate school. And I will bookend the podcast and basically end it with the big personal goal list for 2018. So just FYI. So my goals for Rebel Ragdoll as an entire, holding company and the umbrella brand for all my 10 subsidiaries is that, 1, I want to try to write some more grants and raise money for Rebel Ragdoll this year. Secondly, I need to make all my relevant business purchases, which is going to be tough because one of those includes a desktop Mac, so I can actually edit my films and work on my editing skills. And a lot of the other things I need to purchase deal with dictation software. I need to make a purchase for Vellum and a whole bunch of other things that my businesses just need. I have to make those business purchases, which is why I need to write grants and make money and raise money. I also want to optimize my Patreon page for Rebel Ragdoll. It's actually already finished in terms of me presenting to the world what I'm doing as an artist, but I do want to make sure that all of the things that I'm doing on a day-to-day and weekly basis for all of my subsidiaries are being updated on the Patreon website regularly. So I will probably get one of my virtual assistants to engage in that regular update, but that's what I mean by optimizing the Patreon page. And I'll also be finally officially announcing the Patreon page and actively pushing my Patreon page whenever I do a social media outreach endeavor. So whenever I record a podcast, whenever I do a live broadcast or a vlog, or I write a blog post or anything that's content related, any kind of content production that I'm putting out there will advertise the Patreon page. So that's why I want the page optimized this year. I also want to make sure that I have the lead magnets for each subsidiary completed and done, so that I'm building up my reader list and my mailing list from all different aspects and from all different subsidiaries. So So, I won't go into explaining what a lead magnet is or what the lead magnets are going to be for each subsidiary. But, that's my goal, to have a lead magnet available for the production house, the Rebel Ragdoll Press, New Adult Noir, etc. I already talked to you guys about me hiring and leading a team of virtual assistants to help manage the entire Rebel Ragdoll Fempire, so that will be happening in the first quarter of the year. And then just again, as with all other shadow development endeavors, I will also continue to develop and plan the other latent subsidiaries of Rebel Ragdoll. So Chick Rogue Studios, Doll Theater, Subterranime, Miscellany, and then the non-for-profit legalization of the Dollhouse Foundation will continue to be shadow developed throughout 2018 and beyond. As for Rebel Ragdoll Press and the goals for that, I already told you guys that I wanted to publish 3 novels this year, so that crosses over into my Rebel Ragdoll Press goals. So I want to publish Hollow Point, Loosey Goosey, and Peplum this year. A major bonus is if I get to polish and publish The Haunt, which is book 4 in the Books of Ezekiel this year, but that's just a bonus, and I'm not making any hard promises, but that would be a lovely bonus if I could get that out there. And this is all for the Kobe R. Rice brand under Rebel Ragdoll Press. Another thing I'm going to do for the Kobe R. Rice brand under the press is that I will continue the epic fantastical journey of a Black female sci-fi writer podcast. So this podcast here is basically me making good on that commitment to myself and to you guys. And I really love the podcast. I really am glad that I started it and I kicked it off finally. And I will continue to do this podcast on a weekly basis, pretty much until infinity, until it makes sense to not do it anymore. And then I will also continue blogging for the Kobe R. Rice brand, although that will happen sporadically because usually my blog posts deal with books that I've read and books that I review, just thoughts on, the author journey, etc., etc., etc. And because I have the podcast for those things, I usually will blog through the podcast, so I'll double post on both the podcast page, the podcast feeds, and also on the Kobe R. Rice blog. But occasionally I do have blogs that I write myself. I have book reviews that I write myself, and then I also have guest posts come onto my blog through companies who want me to write about certain things in the industry or post their own thoughts about certain things going on in the indie author industry. And as long as they're relevant to my genre and to my brand, I welcome those posts on my blog. So that will continue. As you guys know, or you might have heard, I also have a secret romance / erotica pen name brand called Vanessa M. Bain. Vanessa M. Bain has not released anything, but the current move for 2018 is to continue shadow developing the Vanessa M. Bain brand, the website, the blog. She might have a podcast, who knows, social media outlets, her project slate, and also just her own giveaway and promotional outlet. Basically, New Adult Noir is the promotional giveaway outlet and reader attraction outlet for my Kobe R. Rice brand, and I was strongly considering having a similar sort of outlet for the Vanessa M. Bain brand, kind of like how J.A. Huss has her New Adult Addiction blog. Vanessa M. Bain might have her own, fantasy, sci-fi, romance blog platform, kind of like New Adult Noir, but just focused in a different direction. So we'll see. But that's going to be in continued development for 2018. Goals for Rebel Ragdoll Productions for 2018. So there will be a lot of, I wouldn't say shadow development, but actual development of Rebel Ragdoll Productions projects, specifically the 3 projects. One being the Sandman feature film, the second being the Ezekiel TV series, which is a TV series that is obviously adapted from the Books of Ezekiel dystopian / epic urban fantasy series, and then the Immortal TV series, which is an urban fantasy alternative history TV series. And I've just become very serious about producing my own professional, high quality, independent television. With the way that Netflix and Hulu and Amazon have completely revolutionized what we consider to be television, there's no reason why Rebel Ragdoll Productions can't produce its own TV series in seasonal arcs with 45-minute to 60-minute episodes, just like anybody else. The only thing that we actually need, honestly, is more money and trustworthy teams for writing, for film production, for editing, for marketing, etc. And which again comes with money, right? So that's the main move this year, is to think about how to fund not just Rebel Ragdoll Press, but also Rebel Ragdoll Productions, which is why I talked about writing grants and raising money for the entire Fempire as a whole. Because that's really all we need to be where we want to be, is more money. But in terms of how we're developing our creative intellectual properties, This year, 2018, I'm going to focus on outlining the Ezekiel TV series, the entire first season, as well as outlining the entire first season for the Immortal TV series that we want to produce at Rebel Ragdoll Productions. So that's just outlining. That's just character development, world building. We already have the story Bibles that I will be shadow developing because I talked about that a few minutes ago. But outlining for a TV series is different because you have to plan for not just the entire, franchise, but you have to plan for each season, like what's going to happen, who's going to be in it, who's going to die, who's not going to die, all these things. You need to plan on a seasonal basis, and you need to plan out episodes within those seasons. So that is what the outline is going to be about. What are the themes? What are the locations? Who are the main characters? Who are the supporting characters? What are the A, B, and C stories? What's the actual story and plot line for the entire 7 seasons? How many seasons are they going to be? Within that major storyline, what are the mini storylines? Basically, what are the seasonal storylines, etc., etc. That's the outlining process I will be participating in for 2018. As for the actual writing and drafting, not just the planning, but actual writing, my plan is to write, finish, and polish the Sandman feature script, write, finish, and polish the pilot for the Ezekiel TV series, to write, finish, and polish the actual pilot for the Immortal series, and so that's like those 3 scripts are going to be essentially like the finalized versions of the scripts. And if you guys don't know what a pilot is the debut episode of not just a season of television, but literally of the entire television series. So it's actually one of the most important episodes you could ever really write for your television series. And I want to make sure that the Ezekiel pilot and the Immortal pilot are actually finished and polished and just amazing. That's the goal. And then sort of like a stretch goal for me for writing and drafting this year will be to finish the drafts of all 10 episodes for the Ezekiel TV series season 1, and then finish the drafts for all 13 episodes for the Immortal TV series season 1. Again, these are just stretch goals. Who knows if I'm going to be able to actually finish them, but I like to reach high. And actually, let me just type that in here, make sure people know this is a stretch goal. But if I could stretch that far this year, like I would have done some serious, amazing work this year at the production house. And then finally, moving from the writing and drafting stage to the actual film production stage, the only project that would be ready for production at the end of this year would be the Sandman feature film. And personally, the only 2 things I want to have done by the end of this year for Sandman is finishing the pre-production, which is like the script breakdown, finding locations, doing the budget, finding actors, etc. I want all of that part finished by 2018 so I can start shooting in 2019. And then a part of that is obviously finish the fundraising plan and finish fundraising for the Sandman film itself. I don't know if I will make the fundraising goals that I have set for Sandman, but again, I am putting all of my effort out there to get that all on point. So we'll see. It's hard to raise funds for a film, but something being hard has never pushed me away from trying. So those are my goals for Rebel Ragdoll Productions this year. I also have some goals for new adult noir that I want to jump into. And one of the first goals for that is to kick off the new year again with a customer satisfaction survey, basically asking my participating authors what they want, new adult noir services, what worked for them in 2017, what they hated in 2017 and what they loved, and what kind of promotions they actually want to see at New Adult Noir. So that's important. That's going to happen during January, so I know how to go forward in February. I will continue to manage and evolve the New Adult Noir blog, its current giveaways, and the book blog. And I'm actually even considering, hiring people on like a post-by-post basis to post their thoughts about a lot of the dark and gritty sci-fi, fantasy, and horror that they've read, and maybe even offer compensation for book bloggers and reviewers to post their reviews onto the New Adult Noir blog. I would love to do it all myself, but I just don't have time to run a whole empire and do everything I want to do, and then also read all these books and review them. So I have no problem paying people for guest posts if they've already read certain books in the dark and gritty sci-fi, fantasy, horror genre, or if they're willing to actually pick up one of our books and read them and review them. I can pay them for that as well. And it's mostly about paying them for their time, not paying them for a good review. That's the thing that I want to make clear here, is that people often are a little sketched out by paid reviews. And I understand why, because you think you're just paying for somebody to say something good. But for me, I want to pay people just for their time. So if they don't like a particular book, then they just don't like it. I might have a policy that, if your book doesn't get anything higher than a 2-star review, then we won't post it, because we don't want to create ill will between us and other authors out there. But if your book has a 3-star or higher, then we'll post it. But the point is to not pay people to say good things, just to pay people for their time in reading. Although people tend to read because they love to read, but reading takes work sometimes. And even if reading doesn't take work, writing a comprehensive, really good review and something that's sort of analytical is not easy. So paying artists of all kinds is important to me. We will host our 11 monthly free book promos. We'll also host 6 mega giveaways this year, again with the 25 Days of Box Sets giveaway, capping off the end of the year, which is going to be even more amazing this year. And then I've also decided to add 2 major audiobook giveaways into the 6 mega giveaway promo, because I realized that the Serious Discovery giveaway was working okay, but it wasn't as popular as I thought it would be with my audience. And I'm just thinking about developing a bigger listenership in addition to developing a big readership at New Adult Noir, because I think audiobooks are important, they're awesome, and the market is growing, and we want to be right there alongside this growing market. So that's New Adult Noir and our goals for this year. The Bohemian Badass goals for 2018 are actually quite big, and hopefully I'll be able to get them done. But the number one and number 2 is to overhaul and completely reflesh out the website and blog for the Bohemian Badass, which I actually already started, and it's already looking great, because we just got our amazing logo revamped into an even more amazing logo, and a bunch of banners, and my artist did a great job. But then I actually came behind him and updated the logos and made it blacker and sleeker and sexier. So I'm really happy with how they came out. I want to overhaul those things, and I also want to overhaul the Bohemian Badass School for Creatives, which has started. I totally tripped over my words. Which also has already started. So just in terms of how those things are set up, I'm rehauling those. And for the weekly blogs, vlogs, and podcasts, my goal is to blog at least once a week at the Bohemian Badass, and podcast at least once a week as well through the Be Badass podcast. So those are our 2 main consistent content producing outlets, our blog and our podcast. And I want to make sure that our readers and our listeners are getting the content that they want in order to develop into the creative badasses that they want to be. So that's important to me. And then as our readership and our listenership is growing, I want to make sure that I'm sending out at least 2 newsletters to my email list for the Bohemian Badass every single month, just to maintain that connection. So just basically becoming the bloggers and the infopreneurs that we are promising we are going to be. I want the Bohemian Badass to work up to that standard. So that's what I'm trying to do for 2018 in terms of weekly content. In terms of larger content, there are 4 main product brands that I would like to release this year, if not just at least finish these brands, if not release them. I want to finish and release the Metaphor Maven brand, which is going to include the Signature course, which is a multi-level, multi-module course, the Metaphor Maven Masterclass, and the workbook. I also want to finish and release the Plot Like a Badass brand, which will include the signature course, the masterclass, the ebook, and the workbook. I also want to finish and release the Writers Unblocked brand, which will include the free email course and the workbook. And then I also want to, by the end of 2018, beginning of 2019, finish and release the Breaking Badass Challenge, which will include a free email course and the workbook. And Breaking Badass is basically the course that we will be offering every single year towards the end of the year and at the beginning of the next year to help anyone who wants to build a creative empire of their own, to help them start that groundwork, to help them build their brands, help them hone their mission, help them, get their website up and running, to help them create a creative and product action plan, and a project slate and all these things, just to help them to create all the foundational and logistical needs, logistical tools that they will need in order to launch their businesses. So that's really important to me, the Breaking Badass Challenge, because that is sort of one of the flagship missions of the Bohemian Badass brand. So that's the Bohemian Badass. Those are our goals for that particular business. Then we have the Black Heart Boulange goals, which, as you guys know, the Black Heart Boulange is the outreach, the sort of, not outreach, but the artisanal, handcrafted, very specialized marketing arm of Rebel Ragdoll. And under the Black Heart Boulange, we actually have 4 brands, but 2 of which will be opening this year. The Black Heart Bakery, which deals specifically with pastry and treat lines, and the Black Heart Boudoir, which deals with skincare and hair care lines. And so the primary move for the Black Heart Boulange brands, and those 2 brands in general, are to draft and test and approve at least 5 recipes for the Black Heart Bakery and 5 flavor brands or scent brands for the Black Heart Boudoir skincare line. Those actually, now that I think about it, might be some goals that are a little bit too big. I might have to focus on just one of the brands, either the bakery or the boudoir, or focus on both, but just release maybe one recipe line and one scent line for both. So that's sort of kind of up in the air, but those are my goals for right now. And then, of course, I want to then have our grand opening on October 1st, 2018, just in time to start taking holiday orders for the Black Heart Bakery and Boudoir. So we'll see what happens in 2018. Then we have the Dollhouse Foundation and our goals for that franchise and business for 2018. And the main goal for the Dollhouse this year is just to start producing content that is beneficial and helpful to single mothers and single mom creatives. So our goal is to create and publish short form video content and audio content for our Dollhouse vlog, our blog, and our podcast, which is not named yet. I have no idea what the podcast is going to be called, but we will have a podcast specifically geared for single mom creatives and just single mothers in general, dealing with how to build their businesses, how to invest, how to manage their finances, dealing with family life and family issues, co-parenting, dating, all different kinds of topics, basically to help inspire and support single mothers out there with a specific focus on single mother artists. So that is our main goal, and that's a rather easy goal to do because the vlogs and the podcast will be very short form, like anywhere between 2 minutes to up to 10 minutes. That's sort of the limit that I'm trying to put on each piece of content. I also want to create and grow our Facebook group and online community. So I think the Facebook group is going to be called Single Mom Creative. I'm not really sure. I'm not quite sure yet. I'm trying to figure out basically what the names of all of our sub brands and groups for the Dollhouse will be called. I have no idea, but we do want to grow a Facebook group and community for the Dollhouse. And just generally, our goal this year is just to love on and support single moms who are trying to hustle their ways to creative infamy. That's basically what we're going to do. We're not establishing legally the non-for-profit this year, because it's a really long, arduous process, and that's not going to be important for us to do until we start actually offering scholarships to our community, and until we start writing grants specifically for the foundation. That's when the legalization of the dollhouse will become much more palpable and necessary. But until then, it's just about providing education, inspiration, and just support for the community, this community that so often just gets ignored or maligned. Okay, now let's talk about my creative professional development through my creative uni. And then we're going to talk about my professional development for graduate school in rapid succession because my computer is about to die. So, as you guys know, professional and creative development are super important to me, just as an artist and as a businesswoman. And I do that in two different ways: through my own personal creative uni by putting together classes outside of formal education systems like my graduate program, and putting together classes and tracks and just literally sitting those classes, taking notes, and doing the projects from those classes and acting on action plans that come from those classes. So, as a part of my professional development of 2018, I want to focus on three particular tracks. The directing skills track that I've created for my personal uni, learning how to direct for film and for the stage. That's going to be a huge part of 2018, which is why this is called the year of the director. I also want to finish the screenwriting track at my personal creative uni and the TV writing track. So directing, screenwriting, and TV writing. Those are the three professional creative tracks that I want to finish this year through my creative uni. And then as it's relevant and as I have time for it, I want to continue to work on my various filmmaking and film production tracks. For my actual creative uni like syllabus, quote unquote, there is a cinematography track, there is a music post-production and scoring track, there is a film editing track, and there is also like a film business, film marketing, and film selling track. There are a whole bunch of different creative uni tracks that have to do with film that I haven't been able to touch yet. So as I'm able to finish those tracks, I will. But the three main tracks of focus are directing, screenwriting, and TV writing. That's for my personal creative uni. For graduate school, most of my professional development goals are more emotional and mental, because my actual classes and courses are pretty much set in stone. I'll be finishing out my theater history courses, my production requirements, my new play dramaturgy and experimental dramaturgy courses, and any sort of other straggling classes this year. I will also be, for the first time, TAing a really amazing horror class that's in the film department, which is nice. And then I'll also be TAing for another class in the theater department. So my educational track and my teaching tracks and my pedagogical tracks are pretty much set in stone for me. And mainly my goals are to try to use those tracks to build my business and forward my creative career as an artist, not as an academic. It's very important for me to keep in mind, very much in the forefront, basically what my personal goals were coming in here and what they are, and making sure that there is a separation between where graduate school ends and where I begin. Where I begin, rather. Excuse me. And I constantly have to keep in my mind's eye that I am here to build and supplement what I already had going prior to coming in here. And I do want to allow myself to be molded by graduate school, but I don't want graduate school to take me over with its own goals and with its own agenda with regards to turning me into a scholar. I do not want to be a scholar. I just want to be a really well-formed and well-rounded professional artist. So that's really the main move for graduate school, is to stay focused on me, stay focused on and in charge of my own destiny, to prioritize my needs, acknowledge my limitations, and set clear boundaries between myself, my program, and between myself and other people, to take care of myself first, then my kid, and then take care of graduate school. Because graduate school will have you crazy thinking that, for example, you have to put it first in all ways and in all moments. And if you don't take care of yourself, you will literally have a nervous breakdown, and graduate school will keep going. So you need to take care of self first, and that's what I'm going to be doing. And then finally, I'm going to take advantage of my waning responsibilities in graduate school as an opportunity to build up the other areas of my creative entrepreneurship and creative interests. So I deliberately front-loaded graduate school in the first 2 years so that as of this summer, 2018, all the way up until I graduate in the summer of 2019, my graduate school responsibilities on a day-to-day basis will be lessened significantly, so I can focus on building up my entire empire and myself as an artist such that I can sustain myself and have a lot of success when I graduate this program while also having my degree behind me. So I'm going to really take advantage of those waning responsibilities and be on point with my time management and on point with all of my projects. So that's really what I'm trying to do for 2018 for graduate school. Keep it in check and, keep it in its place. Finally, and hopefully I can finish this before my computer dies, but are my personal goals. And for my personal goals, I basically want to... Actually, let me just record this later. I don't want to take a risk and lose this. So join me in the next segment in just a minute for my personal goals. Okay.